Boom.
This is a treat. I have one of the internet's top quarterback gurus. That's how I'm going to lay it out for you. This is Cian Fahey, and he's going to talk to us about quarterbacks. Your notifications are probably a mess 24/7, right?
I have the quality filter on, so that probably tells you how they are. So a lot of people think I'm ignoring them a lot of the time, but the reality is I just don't see. I see like 10% of the tweets I get, which is great. But yeah, they're pretty much like the way I describe this to people is it's my job basically is to insult not everyone's mother, the person people love more than their mother, which is our quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So no matter because there are literally people who like I've been doing the same type of analysis for like 3, 4, 5 years, and there are literally people who 3 years ago, and this is Seahawks Twitter mostly because 3 years ago I was way higher than Russell Wilson and everyone, and now I'm way lower than Russell Wilson and everyone using exactly the same analysis.
Yeah.
And the Seahawks people now hate me when they used to love me, and it's like, oh, just give up. There's no point.
Let's talk quarterbacks because that is your expertise. And I want to talk about the future of this league. We got a lot of rookie quarterbacks this year entering the league. And I want to know, how soon can we tell if they have it? You know what I'm saying? I don't want to put any statistical measurement. I don't want to put anything quantitative, which is probably dumb. But how do I know when they have it?
You can tell skill set wise probably within 5 or 6, 7, 8 weeks. You can tell consistency wise probably midway through year 2. So you're like, if you're talking long-term sustained success, it's not something you're going to see this year. If you're looking at a guy and seeing, can he get to the speed of this game? Is he good enough to make the throws he needs to make at this level? That you can see that pretty quickly. Like Sam Darnold, you can probably say that about him already. Like he can play this game at this level. It's just a matter of how consistent is he going to be with his decision making, because his big problem is he throws too many interceptions. But his accuracy is there, his arm strength is there, his movement in the pocket, his process is there. It's probably different for all these quarterbacks because Josh Allen is a guy who has no process in the pocket. He drops back and tries to figure things out as he goes.
Yes.
And that doesn't really work. But so if he like starts to develop his footwork, and if he starts to develop his accuracy and develop his decision making, pretty much basically develop how to play quarterback, he's not going to be anything similar to what he is in the first month of the season, to what he is at the end of the season, or what he is at the start of next year. So he could change quite a lot. But a guy like Darnold isn't going to change that much. Baker Mayfield, you probably won't learn much about him because I don't think Tyrod's going to get benched quickly. I think the Browns need to win some games, and they haven't done that recently, obviously, under Hugh Jackson. So I think they'll stick with Tyrod longer than people expect. And Lamar Jackson, people have been really, really down on Lamar Jackson in the preseason, and I just feel like they're not watching this guy because, like, yeah, he hasn't been phenomenal, but he's been an NFL quarterback. It's not like he's been someone out there who looks completely lost and looks like he doesn't belong. He has had probably one bad game, let's say, one mediocre game, and 2 good games as far as I can tell. And he's shown off a skill set that people should be excited about, but we're not, because we're carrying over this negativity from the draft again, where he's got to be 10 times better than everyone else just to get treated the same way.
Cian, you left out Josh Rosen, and we don't stand for Josh Rosen slander on this show.
I kind of just don't have a feeling for Josh Rosen.
Zero opinion of Josh Rosen?
It's not that I have zero opinion of him. It feels like I'm watching Matthew Stafford, where I know
What's
he can
wrong
do
with
everything.
that?
But he'd be Matthew Stafford. That's what would be wrong with that. I know he can do everything, but everything's that little bit inconsistent, and everything's a little bit like there aren't very clear strengths and weaknesses with Josh Rosen. It feels like he just needs to get on the field, and we'll see where his career goes, rather than he needs to get on the field, and if he's doing this thing, like if let's say he has too many interceptions, like Sam Darnold, if he's not throwing interceptions, we can say, oh yeah, we know he's going to be a good player. Whereas Rosen, it's like sometimes he comes out and he throws perfect passes, and other times he comes out and his passes are consistently a little bit off target, or he's consistently making slow reads, and sometimes he comes out and he's making very quick reads. It's just he's if you want to break it down all these different directions, he's probably the guy who's going to take the longest to get a very clear definition of his skill set and his quality overall. But I think you'll also see with him very quickly, because his talent level as a like in terms of just as a passer and in terms of just feeding the pocket and stuff like that, you'll see very quickly he's not going to be overwhelmed by the NFL. Mm-hmm. He might be a guy, if he struggles, I think he's a guy who will struggle but hang on in the league for a long time. I don't think he's the kind of guy who's going to go down in a blaze of glory and just completely destroy his career after 2 or 3 seasons.
I think one of the biggest storylines this year is the Chiefs pulling the trigger on Patrick Mahomes. And just in general, a franchise's willingness to boot the established starter for the upside ceiling of the young guy is a huge point of development in the NFL and these teams making Super Bowl runs. So how do you feel about Andy Reid pulling the trigger on Mahomes? And then we'll get into Alex Smith with Jay Gruden in Washington. But how do you feel about Mahomes, first of all, in very limited work and how he's going to function in Kansas City?
It's a big risk, I guess, but I feel like Andy Reid probably reached a point in his career where he was like, I can just keep going with Alex Smith and they'll eventually fire me for not winning a Super Bowl.
Yes.
Or I can reset this team and kind of, like, he probably recognized that the roster was losing some key pieces on the defensive side. It was getting a little bit old and thought, this is good timing to go for a quarterback. My only real qualm with the whole thing is I don't think he picked a great quarterback. I think Mahomes is a guy who's got a huge arm and that's about it. But hey, look, Andy Reid is one of the best coaches football has had for the last 15 or 20 years. I know everyone likes to criticize Andy Reid because he never won a Super Bowl in Philadelphia and because he does that very easy thing for all of us to criticize of mismanaging the clock at times. But you can't boil down a head coach into that little thing. Like, overall, his ability to develop players, his ability to set players up for success is probably only bettered by Belichick. If you give him Mahomes to Reid in that supporting cast with that group around him that he can grow with, he could probably be a very good quarterback in a year or two, and he might become that. I don't think he'll be a very good quarterback this year, but the key detail there is I don't think he needs to be a great quarterback this year.
Yeah,
because
I think
Reid will, because Reid will set him up with these play designs and with the supporting cast, I think he'll still be very productive. I just don't think that necessarily means he's going to be a very good quarterback. If you go through their receivers last year, Albert Wilson had the highest screen rate of any receiver in the league. Tyreek Hill was in the top 10. Travis Kelce was in the top 15. And Kelce was the highest of any tight end by a distance. So you come out and you've got options for screens and options for blockers on every single skill position player. And then you add Sammy Watkins to this and you've got the same explosiveness that you've got in Tyreek Hill. And you've got that ability to run screens of both of those guys. So the ability to keep the defense off balance and be proactive rather than reactive to what the defense is doing is going to be a huge factor in Mahomes' season.
All right, let's make some people mad. Let's stir some shit up. What do you say? Who do you think is the most overrated quarterback in the league right now?
Well, I think it's got to be Kirk Cousins, since we just heard the Jets offer him $90 million over 3 years.
He said, nah.
Crazy. So, like, okay, here's a very simple thing with Kirk Cousins. Like, if you want a quarterback and you want to pay him $25-30 million a year, you would think the very easiest thing that he can do is throw the ball from the far hash outside the opposite numbers and do so consistently. He is physically incapable of throwing the ball from the left hash outside the right numbers with accuracy consistently.
When you say physically incapable, can you put like a percentage on like his completion? Like, it's got to be really, really bad.
Oh, it's throwing in terms of throwing an accurate pass. It's like it's easier for him when he's actually throwing further downfield, probably like further than 20 yards downfield.
Wow.
Then he can just put everything behind it and rip it. But when he's got to throw like to a short curl on the opposite side of the field and he's got to measure it a little bit more, he can't get the ball there. And it's I would say if he's hitting that pass 45% of the time, that's probably an optimistic expectation. Like the offense in Washington didn't ask him to do it a whole lot because they knew he couldn't do it. So you've got this guy who has these really good numbers in that Jay Gruden system with a phenomenal supporting cast. But the other thing about this is he often does what the defense wants him to do. He's the guy who's going to rack up yards and get kind of meaningless value plays in terms of, I guess the easiest way to explain it is the idea he gets like checking a ball down when the defense wants you to check the ball down so they can come up and make the tackle. You saw that in that Steelers game in opening week 2 years ago where they were trying to chase the game and Cousins just refused to throw the ball into windows downfield and kept throwing to the running back in the flat and the linebacker came up. And that kind of permeates through his game. But then you also have the idea that he's supremely accurate when he's really not. He's been very limited accuracy to every level of the field. But the way we judge accuracy is completion percentage, and it's very misleading a lot of the time. And then he also has these games where he goes into meltdown mode, and it really showed up in his last game in Washington against New York in Week 17 last year, where he just throws the ball to defenders so often. He had 29 interceptable passes last year, and I think 9 were caught, which is an unbelievably lucky rate.
That's crazy.
So if he keeps doing this, eventually it's going to come back and just bite the Vikings. And as far as I'm concerned, they have paid huge money to have the same quarterback they had last year, and it's going to wind up with them probably being in the NFC Championship game again because they are that good. But their chances of winning the of winning the Super Bowl again, I don't think they're better. They're still pretty good chances with how good that team is. but I don't think he made them in any way better.
Tell me about the Giants quarterback situation moving forward. How ugly is that? They took Saquon at number 2. A lot of people say that was a mistake in terms of draft equity. What's your opinion there?
I understand that argument, but I don't necessarily agree with it, because if you're looking at it from a fan's point of view, you're like, yeah, I want the quarterback. If the quarterback is good, we have him for 20 years, and that's great for us. But if you're the general manager and the head coach, you've got a 3-year window. If your team is bad for the next 3 years and your young quarterback's developing and doesn't help you win, you're going to get fired. So why do you care about the next 20 years? You took Barkley because you think you can win a lot of games with Barkley, Manning, and Odell Beckham, and with Evan Engram and Sterling Shepard. Manning is a really difficult one to gauge, and I have no real issue with anyone having an extreme opinion on him either way.
Oh, wow.
Last year, well, here's the thing. Last year, your offense is built on Odell Beckham, Brandon Marshall, Sterling Shepard being there to be quick options for Manning to get rid of the ball, because your offensive line is so bad, it's not going to block anyone. So then you take Beckham out, you take Marshall out, and you take Shepard out for a while. And now you've got these wide receivers who aren't even NFL players. So it's not just that. You see, I think people think when you have a bad wide receiver, it's just, they're going to drop passes. That's not the case. A lot of the time, what's going to happen is you have a bad wide receiver, and the cornerbacks know you've got a bad wide receiver, so they come up and they get in the face of the wide receiver. And now the wide receiver can't even get off the line of scrimmage. So you've got this play design where the quarterback has to catch the ball and get it out within 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds, whatever it is. And your wide receiver now goes from being Odell Beckham, who's wide open because he's Odell Beckham, to being Miles White or whatever his name is, and he's still trying to get off the line of scrimmage.
We went way down the depth chart last year. We went way down.
And once you do that, the offense as a whole is shut down.
Yes.
So Manning had the worst chart of deep accuracy for me last year, but I haven't really even talked about it with anyone, because how can you throw deep with receivers who can't get deep, who don't even know where they're supposed to be? I'm not one of these people who's going to force to be on one side of any topic, so I'm okay with understanding both sides.
I think the reason Evan Engram saw 100 targets last year is because he's the only one getting separation over the middle.
Yeah.
It was less about how good this rookie is. I was like, nobody is open.
And he dropped like half of those targets pretty much.
Yes, he did.
It's hard to celebrate him too much.
Let's put a bow on this. Let's make someone else mad. Who is the worst quarterback in the NFL?
As in everywhere or just starting?
Who is the worst? Yeah, let's do it. Let's just go. You have every quarterback available to you. Who is the worst quarterback in the NFL? Because first of all, there are not 32 people on the planet who can play good NFL quarterback, right?
Yeah, well, it depends on your definition of good. I think there are 32 guys you can build an offense around that will be efficient and effective. That doesn't mean they're good quarterbacks, but that means they're effective quarterbacks, I guess. In terms of the worst quarterback in the league, you can probably go very far down the depth charts. It's hard, very, very hard to look past Brock Osweiler, just because, like, I was putting together the interceptable passes over the last 3 years this year just to put them together as a little bit of a project. And he played, I think, 3 games last year through 137 passes, I think, and had 13 interceptable passes. Like, if you compare that to just randomly off the top of my head, nothing here leading at all. If you compare that to Colin Kaepernick's last season, he threw 340 passes and had 7 interceptable passes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you've doubled it in 1/3 of the pass attempts. And that's kind of the thing with Brock Osweiler to me. Like, there is no upside argument with Brock Osweiler. There isn't a Josh Allen strong arm. There isn't an ability to read the defense. It's just guy drops back, falls over himself, and throws the ball to defenders. That's it.
All right, let's get out of here with one major hypothetical, right? Burn it all down. Tom Brady signs a 1-year deal with the Bills. Can they make the playoffs?
No chance.
No chance.
No chance.
Because Jose Jones and Charles Clay.
We've got to get out of this idea that the quarterback can change everything. Quarterbacks can change a lot, but they can't change everything. You put him on that team, they're going to win maybe 5 or 6 games.
This is why I need a guru, whether you give that title or not. Cian Fahey, you remember him from pre-snap reads. You know him from Twitter. He doesn't read your tweets, okay? But he's here with us, and we're very thankful. Thank you, sir.
That's a way to encourage people to tweet me and follow me.